Harder than a reliever. Ball one to Derek Jeter. Jeter 0 for 5 yesterday, did have an RBI. So he's off to a .278 start. Jacobs down to a knee. Plenty of time to get it to Ramirez. All right, it's 6-11. So this is about what the shadows were like yesterday late in the game, when the hitters were having a tough time seeing the ball and the fielders were having a tough time seeing the ball off the bat.
Well, that's true. Mike Jacobs, playing far off the line, was able to go to his left and make a nice play. That's the second real nice play to his left he's made in 2 days.
And now Johnny Damon, 1 for 4 with a run scored yesterday. Now you have to appreciate Mike Jacobs and Mike Avila's being stand-up guys and making no excuses for plays that they didn't make. But tough to make a play when you don't see the ball.
You can't catch what you don't see, right?
I mean, that's not making.
But I think it's just being a good teammate when you do things like that, and it just lets the pitcher know that he can make a mistake and he'll have to own up to it the same way. And so these guys are saying, look, if we're going to be a team, if we're going to be accountable as a team, then we can't blame things like that on our failures on defense. So they just get better for the next game out and just go from there.
Busted bat. Crisp was shallow, but Damon drops it in between Callaspo and Crisp.
You know, Johnny, he's got the oddest swing of any hitter I think I've seen in a long time. He just kind of lets his body go toward the first base side and just kind of lets his bat go at the ball. So that's that defensive protective swing he's got. So obviously Ramirez's arm slot is giving him some problems. He didn't pick that ball up very well.
And maybe that's one of the reasons why he wasn't in the original starting lineup. Mark Tejeda with a sore left wrist. That's why he's out, and that's why Nick Swisher is batting third and playing at first base. 1 for 4 with a double, a run scored, and an RBI.
Yeah, Johnny was 3 for 7 against Horatio coming into the game, so maybe and Mike Tejeda was even better. So I think you have to take choose between one of the 2 poisons. You'll take Johnny Damon.
2-0. Tejeda had a double in yesterday's game. A couple of walks, a run scored. Had a play. Our game time temperature 59 degrees. We started right on time at 6:10 Central. Official time and temperature presented by the parking spot. Easy to spot, easy to park. The parking spot at KCI. A little high, 3-1. Now, when you go to the Yankees, they have strict rules on the length of hair. No facial hair unless it's a neatly trimmed mustache. Johnny Damon had to shave away that enormous beard that he had with the Boston Red Sox, and Nick Swisher, we're seeing a cleaned up version of him, and he'll go down to first base, and the Yankees, like they did yesterday, threatening in the first. Tonight's game is in high definition. It's brought to you by Time Warner Cable, where HD is free with digital cable.
That's the one thing I think a lot of players, especially guys like myself, really admire about the Yankees. They didn't really sacrifice their tradition to get a good ball player. They say, well, you want to come play for us, these are the rules you got to play by, and guys usually give in and do what they're supposed to do.
Johnny Damon in particular, when he went to the Red Sox, he went from a recognizable name to maybe the most recognizable face in all of Major League Baseball.
That's pretty awesome the way he was looking at trying to play baseball every day. I can only imagine how he felt on those hot days.
That's the pitch that Ramirez is hoping for all night.
Well, that'd be a tough pitch for a left-hander to hit right there, and he's keeping the ball down, and that's one thing that any pitcher has to do in any ballpark is keep the ball down in the zone.
Great breaking ball. Looked like Miguel Olivo, before the pitch was even thrown, was emphasizing, make sure it's down, make sure it's down.
And that's true, and the way Hideki pulls out, then the ball away is really, I would stay there the whole time. I'd make him make an adjustment, and I wouldn't make an adjustment by trying to come in on him.
Wanted it down again and a little too low. Matsui moving into the cleanup spot with Alex Rodriguez on the disabled list, so both teams without their cleanup hitter. Both guys out with hip injuries. Rodriguez had some cartilage cleaned up with surgery. Jose Guillen has a torn hip flexor. Line to center. Coco coming up for it. Makes a nice sliding play. Two down.
That's a great play on Coco's part, but if you notice the breaking ball that time wasn't quite as hard as it was before, so Matsui had a real good opportunity to get the bat on the ball. This is what they like about Coco, is his speed. He's got great closing speed, and he came in and made a great play.
You know, Frank, it looked like he had to make an adjustment standing out in the sunlight. Didn't look like maybe he was a step or two behind and then found the ball.
Yeah, that's probably true, Ryan. A lot of times when the light is how it is in center field and dark on the infield, the ball looks like a little black dot coming out at you, and you don't know whether it being the end of the bat ball, he might have had a little knuckleball to it, a little slice to it, so he did a great job staying with it.
So Damon at second with his single. Swisher at first with a walk. 2 outs. Ball one on Jorge Posada. It was Posada in the first inning yesterday that gave the Yankees a 2-0 lead with the 2-out single against Ponson, scoring Damon and Tejeda. Ramirez has been behind at least 1-0 on each of the first 5 hitters. Hit well to right field. Bloomquist long way back and can't make the play. And Posada, for the second straight game, is going to drive in 2 in the first inning.
We were talking about not being able to see the ball off the bat. Looked like Willie Bloomquist got a late break on that one, like he didn't pick it up right away. And when he did, well, he had so much carry on it, being a 2-0 swing, he just got a late break on that one. Here we'll get a good look at the jump all right off the bat. Like he just froze there for a second, and then he took off. Almost like he didn't see it right away.
Now Robinson Cano sitting .571 in the first 4 games of the year. 2 hits yesterday. And now that's 6 straight batters that Ramirez has started off 1-0.
That kind of goes back to what you said before that double by Posada, being behind on every hitter. A guy like Ramirez can't survive that way. He's got to survive by getting ahead in the count, which makes his other pitches better. But behind in the count, he plays into those tough right-handed hitters' pocket.
1-1.
Now, we said at the top of the show that Horacio Ramirez needs to start pitching inside a little bit more. And even though that was a 2-0 count where most right-handed hitters want to drive the ball to left field, Posada was staying out there where Ramirez is the whole time and drove the ball to right field.
Into right center. Crisp and Bloomquist there. The inning is over. But again, it's Jorge Posada striking in the first inning. Yankees lead 2-0. Two-run double. That's what he was looking up into with the sun falling off to the third base side. Joel Goldberg is out at Rival Sports Bar looking at the same thing.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, we really can see, Ryan, what was being seen by Willie Bloomquist. We're a little bit higher up, but any of the fans that are sitting out here above the bullpen out here, you're seeing that. I mean, I'm looking right now, and I can't even see the ball, so I can't imagine how Willie was able to see it or how Xavier Nady's going to deal with that right now. But one of the new vantage points for fans, as well as people up in Rival Sports Bar, get a pretty good feel for what the right fielder is looking at. And right now, that sun is pouring down to the right fielder, guys.
All right, thank you, Joel. It's the 33rd career game for Willie Bloomquist in right field. Coco Crisp may have had a tough time picking up a bloop from Hideki Matsui, but with his great closing speed came in and made a sliding catch. Facing his former teammate with the Cleveland Indians, CC Sabathia. Coco 0 for 4 yesterday. On the outside corner.
That's a tough pitch to keep fair, that's for sure. He keeps it right there, and that's going to be a long night for the Royals hitters. But Coco's approaching this at bat like a leadoff hitter. He's making him throw some pitches, and that's what they have to do in order to get their batting eye back.
And Sabathia doing what a lot of good veteran pitchers do. He got the pitch on the corner, tried to go a little bit further outside.
Well, that's being smart catching also, and just realizing, okay, let's see how far the umpire is going to go with us, and if he'll give us 2 more inches off the plate, we'll take that too.
Two balls, 2 strikes.
Well, you get 2 pitches away, and then one for a strike, one for a ball, and Coco gets him leaning out there, and all of a sudden throws him right down the middle. He can't swing the bat.
One of those wins, 2 of those losses against the Royals last year. On the inside corner, no argument from Coco. So 1 down. Here's the rest of the Royals lineup presented by M&I Bank. Alberto Callaspo moving up to the number 2 position. Mike Avila's batted second yesterday. Billy Butler will hit 4th. Willie Bloomquist in the number 9 spot in right field. Callaspo 0 for 3 yesterday. Back to Sabathia. Well, there's a lot to say about 28-year-old CC Sabathia. Here's the Kia pitching report. Cy Young winner last year, or 2 years ago. Last year, started with the Indians, finished with the Brewers, went 11-2 with a 1.65 for Milwaukee, helping them get into the playoffs.
I'll tell you more than earned his stripes last year, going from a team like Cleveland, where he's been a perennial winner, and then going to Milwaukee and getting them to the playoffs, and he just parlayed it into one of the biggest contracts in baseball history.
Jesus off to a 3 for 18 start, 0 for 4 yesterday, a couple of strikeouts. miles an hour. Sabathia 6'7", 290.
I know it was said that he didn't really trust his fastball in his last outing against Baltimore, but I think a fastball at 95, you can trust it pretty good.
When he was a young pitcher with the Indians, Oral Hershiser gave him the advice, if you're thinking down and away, just eliminate one of those. You have such good stuff. Don't try and go down and away. Just pick one, down or away.
That's great advice, because down and away is a ball.
Delayed call from the home plate umpire, Jeff Kellogg, 2-2.
You can almost see in some of the Royals hitters to this point that you can almost see the hitch just turning. You know, they're just in between. David had CC 2 balls, no strikes. He should be ready to swing at the next fastball. They took that down the middle, and they just almost like they're just afraid they're going to swing at a bad pitch.
That one coming in at 97. This may sound crazy, but when you're struggling, does it help to face a really good pitcher because your point of emphasis is so shallow that you know, man, I can't swing at everything against this guy or I'll get myself out?
Well, that's true. You know, Ryan, it's a pretty tough situation to be in, but you know, just throw it right down the middle like that, and we'll follow this one up when we get back.
2 strikeouts in the first for Sabathia. Share of strikeouts in the first 4+ games. Here's the Toyota League leaders for tonight. Only the Toronto Blue Jays have struck out more hitters than the Royals. They're 36. Blue Jays last year led the American League in ERA. Yankees with 2 runs in the first against Horacio Ramirez. Jorge Posada with a 2-out 2-run double. Frank, before we went to break, I asked you that when a hitter is struggling and maybe thinking too much. Now, of course, you don't want to go out and face CC Sabathia, don't get me wrong, but you have a much simpler approach against a guy like that, right?
Well, you got to be able to hit one or the other. When you're struggling like the Royals are right now, you're in that no man's land where you're too slow on the fastball and too quick on the breaking ball. So you got to figure out how to get on one or the other until you can bring the other one along. But right now, the hitters to this point, they're thinking a little too much, a little hesitant about swinging the bat. So they just got to focus on being aggressive and improve their concentration.
Deep third for Alex Gordon. One away in the top of the second inning. Here's the Time Warner Turbo speed pitch. Ramirez gets up into the low 90s. CC Sabathia into the upper 90s. Fast, just got even faster. You can double your speed with Roadrunner Turbo from Time Warner Cable. Sidney Ponson yesterday gave up a couple of runs in the first inning and then really settled down. Gave up 2 more in the fourth. May, even though Ponson's been around for a while, may have been a result of being fired up for that first inning of opening day, and maybe Horacio Ramirez had a few butterflies fluttering around in his first start of the year.
I know if it was my first start, I'd have one. I mean, it was like one of those deals where no matter how long you play, that first game of the year, you got those butterflies, and you want to get up there and get it going, get that first hit, first win, and just go right on throughout the season.
Off the end of the bat, and David hardly has to move. 2 down in the second inning. Final game of this series is tomorrow afternoon. Gilmesh, who was so good against the White Sox on opening day, will start against Lincoln, Nebraska's Jabba Chamberlain, who's making his season debut. Coverage begins at 12:30 with Royals Live with Joe Goldberg and Jamie Quirk. That's the first time that Ramirez has been 0-1 on a Yankee hitter. He was 1-0 on the first 8.
Yeah, the one pattern I've spotted so far, Ryan, is he just hadn't pitched inside to anyone yet. I mean, mainly's been away on lefties and right-handers.
Speedy Brett Gardner, 1 out of 3 yesterday, also dropped down a sac bunt. There's a good breaking ball, 1-2. Gardner beating out Melky Cabrera, who was the Yankees starting center fielder the last 2 years. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Well, he's got that great speed, and yesterday he laid down a nice sacrifice bunt, so he can play the little game too. So those are, you put speed and the bunting together, you got a nice little package right there.
And Ramirez gets his first strikeout, so he does bounce back after giving up 2 in the first. Yankees down in order in the second. bouncing back in the second inning, getting his first strikeout and retiring the Yankees in order. And now in the bottom of the second, Billy Butler, Alex Gordon, and Mike Aviles facing CC Sabathia, who knocked down the Royals 1-2-3 in the first with 2 strikeouts. Trey Hillman today deciding to break up the left-hand batters. Remember yesterday it was DeJesus, Tien, and Gordon hitting in succession against Andy Pettit. Tien not in the lineup tonight against Sabathia. Now Billy Butler moving up to number 4.
Billy moves to number 4, but the pitching pattern doesn't change. They still go in on his hands and really jam him on that first pitch fastball. But they're going to make Billy show them that he can get to that pitch, or Billy got to show them he won't swing at it because it's not a strike. And Jorge Posada was going back in for another fastball, but Sabathia left it out over the plate.
Tien does not have good numbers against Sabathia. Billy Butler does. Tien 16 strikeouts and 34 at bats. Batting average isn't that bad, 265, but a high number of strikeouts, while Billy Butler is about a 390 hitter against Sabathia, and that was the stat that Trey Hillman pointed to, taking Tien out. Just the high number of strikeouts, and the Royals have been striking out quite a bit, about 10 per game in the first 4. Changeup. Well, Frank, when Billy was called up a couple of years ago, he was really using the middle of the field well and got off to the same start early last year, and same thing, pitcher started pitching him inside. 3 strikeouts for Sabathia, and when Billy appeared to be becoming frustrated with that, that's about the time the Royals sent him down to AAA.
Well, that's true. Right now you can just tell he's really over swinging right now. It's a lot harder than Billy's normally swinging the bat. When you swing that way and you got a guy that's throwing 95, it just slows your bat down and makes that fastball look a lot faster.
Yeah, that's the thing that a lot of young hitters don't realize right away, that swinging harder or trying to swing faster, swinging harder actually slows you down.
It definitely slows you down, makes your bat longer, makes you swing longer, and especially if you got a fastball that, like CC, that's borderline high and it's got a little hop to it, it makes it even look that much faster. So you just really hurt yourself when you do that.
Same goes for pitchers too. When they try and throw it harder,
you usually go higher.
Yeah, and it doesn't come out faster. Quickly 0-2 on Alex Gordon. 0 for 4, 2 strikeouts yesterday.
A lot of times Alex will get himself in trouble when he strides. He won't stride directly to the pitcher. He'll stride toward home plate and lock his hips up, and that's why they want to go inside to him.
Well, the Royals really wanted to go as long as they could, with Billy Butler batting 6th and Alex Gordon 7th, but with the Guillen injury, here we are, 5th game of the season, and back to Butler batting 4th and Gordon hitting 5th.
They always say the best laid plans. You know, you got a nice lineup working for you, and one injury throws the whole thing off.
Remember his rookie year was hit by a high number of pitches. Royals rookie record, and he said that was something that he learned at the University of Nebraska, and it's very common in college baseball. With 2 strikes, hitters will get close to the plate. That was a Mike Anderson theory at the University of Nebraska, and that same year David DeJesus set a franchise record for being hit by a pitch, and he said, yep, that's what I did at Rutgers.
College coaches teaches guys how to get hit, And Major League pitchers say, you want to get hit? Here, take this.
Little low to Mike Aviles.
That's the one thing I noticed about guys coming out of college and the pro ball. Everything that they learned in college, the pro coaches change everything. Terminology. You want to get hit on purpose? Well, we'll pick a spot where it really hit you and let you see how it feels. So I think Alex, the way he strides, has a hard time getting out of the way of that ball inside.
And I don't think Alex is one of those guys that'll stick his elbow out there like some will, but getting a little closer to the plate with 2 strikes and giving the pitcher a little smaller strike zone.
That'd be a smart thing to do. But I like you say, Ryan, anybody who wants to stand in front of a 95-mile-an-hour fastball with no armor, they got to be a little nuts, I think.
I'm fine sitting up here with you, Frank.
So am I. If I was down there in the stands, if I wasn't behind that screen, I wouldn't be comfortable.
Well, that's the snapshot of some of the frustration for the Royals in the first 5 games. You jump ahead 2-0, and then Sabathia gets you to swing at ball 3.
Well, that's true. Mike just opened up too early, and the swing got a little long, and the ball was away from him. They just need to go back to what he did last year, keep his swing short, try to drive the ball to right center, right field, and he'll be fine. Right now, he's just trying to overswing.
Ransom at third. Out at second base, Cano with the quick hands turns the double play. I don't even know if that ball was ever in his glove. That was so fast.
That was a very nice turn.
Inning. I still have that picture in my mind of the rookie Derek Jeter in 1996 when he helped lead the Yankees to the World Series. He was the rookie of the year, but talking about the veteran Derek Jeter now, and you start putting him up on lists with other veterans as far as milestones among active players. He is 5th all time among active players in hits. So think about that. Only 4 hitters in Major League Baseball today have more hits than he does.
And with his age right now, he'll be able to get a lot more hits before he's done. He's just got the perfect swing for base hits. He uses the whole field.
Here's another one. That's his first hit of the series. He began the series 0 for 6. So Ken Griffey Jr. has an outside chance at getting to 3,000. Omar Vizquel, how about that? He really turned himself into a good hitter.
He really did, coming from Seattle to Cleveland. He got around those great hitters over there, and his career just took off as an offensive player.
Well, you bring up a great point, Frank, because as I'm looking at the first four, now Jeter's running. Olivo had to deal with a tough pitch from Ramirez, and Jeter has his second stolen base. Now look at those names. I mean, the four above him, those are guys that are at the not only just the end of their career, but some guys at the very end of their career. And this guy looks like he could play another 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
Well, that's true. And Jeter, he just took off on the first move. They must know something about Horatio Ramirez. Usually against the lefty, they don't go first move on the first pitch. So it might be better if Ramirez goes to first base a little bit more on the first pitch.
Johnny Damon doing his job. Jacobs to the bag himself. So a single, a stolen base. And with one out, a runner at third for Nick Swisher.
I think part of any pitcher's job is controlling the running game, and if they feel like a guy will run, they need to kind of help themselves once they get on the base. You know, you don't have the Andy Pettitte type move, but at least you can make a move over, let them know that you're paying attention.
Swisher walked, scored on the 2-out double from Posada.
With one out and the way the Raws infield is set up, anything slow, they're probably trying to get a play at the plate. They're really just trying to make sure they don't give up an easy hit. But in this situation right here with Jeter on third, they're probably going to go contact. So to me, you're kind of giving a runaway right there by playing in that position right there.
You don't typically see the infield in this early in the game, but the way CC Sabathia is pitching right now, I mean,
yeah, you got to protect it. I think what Trey's hoping for here is a hard hit ball at one of the infielders that Jeter will freeze on, and you'll have it play at the plate. But if he's all the way back, he'll go for sure. And if you're in and get by him, he'll go.
Instead, it's a slicer near the right field line. Bloomquist diving, and that was not a good choice. Nick Swisher is on his way to third base. So trying hard to make something happen. That may have turned a single into a triple. Yankees lead 3-0.
Yeah, a lot of times, Ryan, when you play in a lot of different positions and you don't play them for a while, then you kind of lose sight of all the responsibilities that you have at those positions. And here where Willie should have come up and just played it on one hop and try to avoid the extra base hit, he tried to make the great play.
A single on that play. 1 run scores, but you still have the double play in order. Now you have the same situation. Runner at third with 1 out, but Swisher's not going anywhere on that ground ball from Matsui. So 2 down, and Hideki Matsui has a 1 for 16 beginning to the season.
Your good defensive teams, the one thing they do very well is they manage the game. They try to make sure they don't give up the big innings and just give away your runs one at a time, and they try to keep your double plays in order to help the pitcher get out of some tough innings.
And now Mr. Clutch for the Yankees in this series. Jorge Posada has 4 RBIs in the first 2 games, all with 2 outs. And Ramirez pitching high and inside.
That's a pretty good pitch from Horatio right there. I think he needs to throw a few more pitches like that to get him off the ball away.
And DeJesus won't get this one. 5 RBIs for Posada, all with 2 outs. Yankees lead 4-0 in the 3rd inning.
Horatio Ramirez does a great job, Ryan, of coming up and in on Posada with the first pitch, and Miguel Oliva wanted him to go to the outside corner, but he left the ball in the middle of the plate, and Jorge Posada just turned on it and drove it into left center field. You know, sometimes with a guy that really wants to live away, sometimes you can even back that pitch up in there a couple times to kind of, because you have to create a lane for yourself where you got, if you want to get a guy out, you got to figure out how to get him out.
Well, I was just going to ask you, from your experience as a hitter, I mean, how much of a statement does a pitcher make if he throws one pitch inside as opposed to back-to-back pitches inside?
I think it's a bigger statement because now you don't know exactly what he'll do. But if he lives outside, then you know he's going to be out there. Or if you know that even if it comes in here twice, then do you come back inside for a strike or do you go away with your fastball? But basically you got to get the ball in the zone that you want to get it into.
Now, does that word spread in the dugout after a while? Hey, he may pitch you inside once, but he's going to go away on the next pitch.
Right, just for show. Right.
That ends the inning. The Yankees have their second two-run inning and a 4-0 lead. Yankees, where's Joel Goldberg?
Ryan, Frank, you've seen our new home for the pre and post game show, Rival Sports Bar, up above the party deck. It is packed. That is one of the hot spots. And then here's the side entrance. By the way, little hint to get in. Well, they might not let everybody in here, but when we're trying to get in quickly for the show, this is the way to do it and give you a little look from the inside of our new home. Here it is, Rival Sports Bar, and our new set. And Jamie Cork's back there hanging out, already preparing for the post-game show. Let's head back upstairs to you guys. I'll tell you what, this place will be hopping after the game for Royals Live.
Frank, you noticed there looked like there was some sort of a row of tables around the set just to make sure the guys don't get too close.
Yeah, they had to have some security out there yesterday. Guys really fell in love with Joel. Joel said he didn't know so many people knew his name.
Guys fell in love with Joel?
Well, I'm going to leave it like that.
Oh, okay.
That's how he phrased it.
Oh, okay. Mike Jacobs driving in the only Royals run yesterday with a loop to right that Nick Swisher lost in the sun, but still nice to get that first hit out of the way.
It sure should help you relax, but I tell you, Mike had such a good spring, and I know he puts a lot of pressure on himself to do well. So hopefully he can just relax and let everything come to him.
Billy Butler struck out in his first at-bat, but I was curious to see how those guys would swing today, getting that first hit out of the way. Butler and Jacobs both hitting doubles for their first hits yesterday. 2-2.
You know, in talking to Kevin Seitzer before the game, he just felt like the guys were just trying to do too much. You know, rather than going back to basics, what they worked on in spring training, you know, they just felt like they just came out and just want to get it so fast, and they're not letting the game come to them. They want to go out and try to take the game.
Johnny Damon in left field. Retires Mike Jacobs. Now Miguel Olivo. A lot of new great ticket offers coming up this year, like Royal Nights with $5 upper level tickets. That's back every Monday except in late September. Buck Nights are back thanks to Independence Honda on select Wednesday, Fridays, and on Memorial Day. On Fridays and Sundays, we have the Bob Evans Bases Loaded 4-pack. And don't forget the brand new Dry Duck fountain seats. They're available for just $7 the day of the game. That is a great seat. I had a chance after the game yesterday to check out the new outfield experience. Didn't get a chance to get all the way down there to those seats right on the other side of the left field wall. But I did get a chance to check out the seats above that and see the Miller Lite sign in the middle of your screen. There's a little party deck up there and some seats below that, and I tell you what, that is a great spot to watch the game.
There's so many good spots in to watch the game this year. It's unbelievable.
0-2 on Miguel Olivo. 0 for 3, couple of strikeouts yesterday. Sabathia, the Royals have their first hit. Olivo coming back after being behind in the count 0-2.
One thing he did with 2 strikes, he cut his swing down and kept the ball in the middle of the field and walked away with a base hit. That was a good job of making that adjustment right there. It's right down the center. He just basically tried to do too much with it. The first couple swings, he really overswung like he was trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark. With 2 strikes, he cut it down and got a base hit up the middle.
Now Willie Bloomquist not in the lineup yesterday. Pretty good numbers against CC Sabathia, however. It's in on the 5th. Sabathia wants it, gives away to Cody Ransom. Sabathia deferring to the long major league rule that pitchers are not allowed to catch a pop-up.
That really makes the infield work harder when they do that. That's why he liked guys like Saberhagen when he was in the game. Any pop-up with him out, he caught. He was a great athlete.
That's a professional athlete out there, Frank. I mean,
we should all be required to do the same things, I tell you that. First baseman tripping over the mound, third baseman tripping over the mound.
Meanwhile, the pitcher takes a step back like, go right ahead. I mean, could have caught that barehanded, but you want it.
The pitcher's job is to call the guy's name who's going to trip over the mound.
Zach Greinke, on the other hand, you're going to have to bring in somebody to screen him or a lead blocker because he goes after him. Remember, he made that diving play in foul ground in Oakland last year.
What a great play that was. Wow.
Oakland has the most foul territory outside the baselines, and Zach was really the only one who could get to it. And man, he was just a blur of a gray jersey going from the mound and diving on the grass in front of the A's dugout and came up with not only the ball but a big smile on his face.
Yeah, the one thing he does well in batting practice, he goes down center field and he shags fly balls off the bat like an outfielder.
0-2 on Coco. Sabathia struck him out in the first inning, one of 3 Sabathia strikeouts.
Yeah, CC's really pounding the strike zone. He's really starting to move the ball on both sides of the plate. Starting to try to crowd the right-handers a lot more.
Late movement. Once again, Coco, no argument. Balled out on strikes. Royals get their first hit, down 4-0. from the dugout suites. I guess you can consider that an older feature now with the new Kauffman Stadium. Sounds crazy to say this when you're facing a guy like CC Sabathia, but you just get the feeling the guys just need to relax at the plate.
Well, he's pretty tough, but right now with 2 strikes, they're really not doing a good job of covering the whole plate. They just mainly are staying one-sided. If he pounds them away, they give away the inside. If he pounds them inside, they give away the outside. So they need to take one for the first 2 strikes, either out or half or in a half, and then with 2 strikes, they need to go out over the whole plate.
And the Royals have a ways to go as the Yankees have scored 4 in the first 3 innings against Horacio Ramirez. Xavier Nady takes ball 1. Grounded out first time against Ramirez. Posada 3 RBIs. And Nick Swisher with a run driven in against Ramirez, who has been pitching behind most of the game tonight. And that's up the middle for a leadoff single. And now Cody Ransom. Royals baseball brought to you by Lumiere Place Casino and Hotel, presenting the Go Blue in St. Louis sweepstakes. One lucky winner will be at the Royals-Cardinals game on May the 23rd and enjoy beautiful accommodations at Lumiere Place Casino and Hotels. Register now at goblueinstlouis.com. Cody Ransom fly to DeJesus in left field. Horacio Ramirez familiar with Dayton Moore. Dayton Moore familiar with Ramirez from the Braves organization. Had a big year for Atlanta in 2003. Went 12-4. Deep and just foul. But the very next year he had surgery on his shoulder, and it's taken him a while to get back from that. Some other issues with the disabled list. Very early in his career he had Tommy John surgery. thoughts?
Haircut.
Here's You Call It, presented by Sprint. And our question for tonight, who's the toughest lefty the Royals have faced so far? Text 432-432 and enter keyword Royals along with your selection A, B, C, or D. Castro gives the Royals their first leadoff man on. A, Mark Early, that was opening day. Tuesday, John Diggs, Thursday afternoon. Andy Pettit yesterday afternoon. CC Sabathia tonight. Again, text 432-432. Keyword Royals, along with your selection. Standard text rates will apply, and we'll update those numbers throughout the game.
Right, looks like Castro is his first pitch hitting tonight. The first time up, he hit a ground ball back to Sabathia, and then the second time up, another ground ball. But what a great bunt that was.
Well, if he would have squared, you know, Ransom would have come in from third, right? The old swinging bunt.
It would have been perfect, yeah. But almost like he said, he's not getting ahead of me. And he's usually one of the more patient guys when he goes to the plate.
Well, even a guy as good as Sabathia, I mean, chances are you're going to get a pitch to hit each plate appearance, right?
Yes, you're going to get one, at least one. You just can't miss. It's awful tough when you have a guy who has a changeup, a good curveball, outstanding fastball. It's hard to be on all of them. You just got to try to, if your first two strikes, you just got to look for one of them. And then when you get the two strikes, then you expand your zone and just try to put anything he throws up there and play.
That's what I was getting at earlier when I mentioned, you know, maybe facing Sabathia tonight. Now, it hasn't worked out so far, isn't the worst thing when you're struggling. If you face a pitcher you're not worried about, you think, well, I'm not worried about any of his pitches, and maybe there isn't as much of a plan. You better have a plan when you go up against Sabathia.
He will make you think, and you got to be thinking all the time up there, and you got to try to figure out, okay, what's he throwing, what's his best pitch, what he's throwing majority first pitch, and you just kind of look for something you can handle.
Jesus up the middle. Asco will hold. Got a good start. First time the Royals have had more than one base runner in an inning.
And David does a great job getting the ball down the middle of the plate and keeping it up the middle. So, but I think that's what you have to do. Is you can't cover the whole plate. You still have to figure out whether I'm better middle in or middle away. And on those first two strikes, you got to look for a pitch in your zone, what Kevin Sykes talks about. And then when you get the two strikes, then you try to shorten everything up and try to stay in the center of the field, put the ball in play.
Well, this is the second time through the order. First time through, one hit, 4 strikeouts. But you get a look at Sabathia and you have an idea what he's trying to do.
Well, that's true. And Billy right now has got to cut down on his swing, get a ball down where he can handle, and just try to drive the ball in the alley. If he tries to overswing, then he plays right into Sabathia's hand. Earlier in his last at bat, Sabathia tried to really jam him up inside, which will cause you either hit a slow roller to third base or pop the ball up.
Big mix-up, and the Yankees are lucky. A couple of things. Number one, that ball didn't get past Posada. Number two, it ended up being a strike.
It was definitely a strike, but I think he wanted to throw that fastball up and in that he threw the time before and see if he can get Billy to chase him.
That's not the first time that's ever happened, where you get a little later into the game and the Royals have a runner at second base for the first time. This is the first time that Posada's had to do a series of signs. And sometimes those guys aren't on the same page.
Well, that's true.
Oh, 2.
Now, from Posada's standpoint, Ryan, he'd rather be crossed up with a breaking ball than crossed up with a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. But that one, you're not ready for, and that'll hit you or hit the umpire, one of the two.
And as the second baseman, Frank, and the shortstop for that matter, you also wanted to know what the signs were going to be.
Well, definitely, these two guys can actually see every sign. They see the sign, they see the pitch location, and that could cross them up also.
3 pitches, and down goes Butler. 5 strikeouts.
Well, that's the pitch that Posada wanted, the first pitch of the at-bat. But right now, Billy's not pulling the trigger on the one that's down above the knee, but above the waist, he's actually swinging at that pitch right there. As I say, when you get the 2 strikes, you got to throw everything out of the window. Anything close, you got to swing it back.
Alex was down in the count 1-2 his first time up and was hit by a pitch. Callaspo down at second to Jesus at first. Way out in front.
It's really not a bad selection of pitch by Posada and Sabathia. What they're trying to do right here is just get Alex to roll over. He can't really get behind that breaking ball and drive it in left field the way he's swinging, so they're trying to get him to roll over on it and possibly hit into a double play.
Going to have to hurry. Yankees turn the double play. Great opportunity, first and second, and nobody out. And the Royals come up empty against Sabathia. Runs in the first 5 games, but they've been playing excellent defense. That began in Chicago. Here's the Coors Light freeze cam and a play by Coco Crisp in the first inning.
Well, this is off the bat of Hideki Matsui, and he fought through the dark shadows of Kauffman Stadium to make a great play right there.
Derek Jeter leads off the 5th. So much for the leadoff hitter only leads off once a game. This is the 3rd straight at bat that Jeter leads off. 1 for 2. Singled, stole a base, and scored in the 3rd inning.
Yeah, Derek Jeter's got such a perfect swing, and he has such great plate coverage. He's got the kind of swing, Ryan, that he can stay out over the plate all day long, and he can drive that ball in the right center. And then when he gets in that hitting count, he can look 2-0, 3-1, and turn on the fastball and drive it to left center field.
I agree. For a guy who has a reputation of being an inside-out hitter, I mean, he can smoke a ball to left field. And he runs every ground ball out hard, and he's barely out. All the things that he does so well, defensively, offensively, he's got a handful of World Championship rings. He runs every ball out hard.
He really does, and Michael Vilas has got to be aware of that, and he comes up and he really tries to take his time, but right there, when you kind of come in on a ball from shortstop, you just got to get that ball and go. You don't have time to kind of dip your head and set your feet. I mean, you got to set your feet, but you can't take all day to let this ball go. You got to get rid of the ball.
Johnny Damon singled and scored in the first inning, rounded out in the third. One and one. Opening week celebration continues tomorrow, sponsored by Sprint. Tomorrow you'll still get a magnetic schedule for 2009. Monday, get a $5 upper level ticket, $5 GA parking as we bring back Royal Knights. And then Wednesday is the first Inc. College night and happy hour with concession specials and the new outfield experience. Two and two on Damon.
Johnny has such an unorthodox swing that more than likely when you throw the ball away from him, he's better off. You can still get inside on him and break his bat just because of his setup and the way he swings.
Three and two. Second for Ramirez. One on, one out as we take a look at the James B. Nutter pitch count for Horacio Ramirez. 63 pitches. Royals would like to see a better ball or strike to ball ratio. Right now it's about 50-50.
It's about 50-50, and a lot of times when you're the catcher and the pitcher and you have a hitter at the plate with Johnny's home run potential, then basically you got to say what's the worst that can happen to me here if I throw a fastball down the middle of the plate 3-2, and you got to really go after Johnny in that situation. You don't want to put him on base because now he got the opportunity to steal second base. I think you should always try to make the guys that run fast, all your fast runners, even if they get the ball right, they get the home run. But what are the odds of Johnny hitting the ball out of the ballpark on a regular basis? But you put him on first base, now he can score on a double, he can steal second. There's a lot of ways he can score.
Strike one on Swisher by my count. Ramirez, of the now 21 hitters he has faced, including Swisher, 15 of the 21 times he's been behind 1-0. That's a good pitch.
Well, he needs to do a little bit more of that and try to keep the hitters honest. But like you say, Ryan, if he's not going to get ahead of the hitters on first pitch strikes, then it's going to be hard for him to battle back and be able to utilize the pitches he wants to use to get hitters out.
Of the 5 hitters that he has jumped ahead 0-1, those hitters are 1 for 5. So there's the math for you. When he gets ahead, he's had success tonight. That ball is pounded to deep left field, and there's your first home run in New Kauffman Stadium. Nick Swisher, at least in 5 games this year, has put his 2008 season in his rearview mirror.
Well, he's definitely swinging the bat well. Olivo was trying to get Ramirez to get a ball inside like the first one, but he left it out over the plate a little too far, and Nick just jumped on it and just it's just some great sound right there. Ball went over the bullpen.
Well, there was some concern after yesterday, and it was a bit windy on the cool side, that the ball wasn't carrying at all. But when you hit it like that,
I think it just depends on who hits it myself.
Well, there are some ballparks where you don't really have to get all of it to hit it out of the ballpark.
That is true. But when you're pitching behind in the count, you always have a chance to give up a ball like that.
Matsui 0 for 2 and just 1 for 16. He goes to the opposite field, and Coco's not going to get this one. The Royals are playing him to pull on the infield and in the outfield. Well, Ramirez got Derek Jeter to ground out to begin the inning, but now a walk, a 2-run home run, and a double, and the Royals are going to go to work in the bullpen.
Well, earlier in the game, he hit a little sinking liner in the short, more the right center field side of center field, but this time he left the ball out over the plate, and he just, with his body leaning toward first base, he just caught it late and drove it into left center field. And that just kind of tells you with that shift that I don't think he was necessarily pitching in with the fastball, but he was definitely going to throw breaking balls to try to get him to pull the ball.
Not only the Royals going to go to work in the bullpen is going to take over the game. So Rossi Ramirez going just 4 1/3 in his season debut. Robinson Tejeda comes in. He can figure out the gate. Tough debut for Horacio Ramirez. 4 1/3 innings. He's up 8 hits, 6 runs. Still responsible for Hideki Matsui at second base, and now Robinson Tejeda appears in his first game.
Another one of the outstanding arms that the Royals have coming out of their bullpen. He was up around 95, 96 in spring training. Expect him to be a little strong tonight. He hasn't pitched in a while. So hopefully he can control his fastball and get it down in the zone.
Really a great find for the Royals last year, getting him off of waivers from the Rangers, and a guy who had a reputation of having a great arm and great stuff, as they say, which essentially means talking about velocity and movement, not necessarily command and control, but he was far from a wild guy with a great arm once he got working with Bob McClure.
And it really helped him a lot. They tried to get him to land on his toes and not on his heel, and get more of a straight line to the target, and he really did a big job for Trey Hillman last year. Spot started a few times, and he just was a real versatile guy to have in your bullpen.
Jorge Posada is 2 for 2. He's driven in 3 of the 6 runs, all with 2 outs. So he's been productive tonight, and he's been clutch. Mentioned yesterday he had all of those shoulder problems last year and had surgery on his right shoulder. And Joe Girardi really only hoping that he starts behind the plate for about 100 to 110 games. Oh. Now, is that because you remember what that felt like?
You yell before it hits you.
I thought that was going to hit you somehow.
Oh, I can imagine. I've been hit below the knee with fastballs like that, and I tell you what, there's 2 places you don't want to get hit other than the head, and that's from the wrist to the elbow and from the knee to the ankle.
Not a whole lot of meat, at least when you're standing sideways facing the pitcher. Speaking of Posada and Girardi, when Posada first came up to the Yankees, he was splitting time with Joe Girardi, who's a former Yankee catcher. Second year as a Yankee manager. 16 games above 500 last year was good for 3rd place in the American League East.
Well, Joe Girardi, when he played for the Yankees, he get runners on 3rd base. He was king of the safety squeeze, and he did that very well.
Full count.
Well, Tejada's come out. He's thrown one almost on the kneecaps of Posada. One at first pitch in on his hands, one up and away, one down the middle. You think he knows exactly what's coming here?
Struck him out anyway. Also, when Joe Girardi was catcher for the Yankees 10 years ago, you believe it's been that long? 10 years ago, he was behind the plate when Kansas City's own David Cone threw a perfect game against the Montreal Expos. David Cone, now a television broadcaster for the Yankees.
Well, I'm glad sometimes you get a heads up when you're going to go to the other team's booth and they don't catch me with my glasses on my nose like that.
Well, you know, in our production truck, we have the Yankees feed, and I'm sure it's the same for the Yankees. So I bet you somebody is telling David Cone right now, you know, you were just on Kansas City TV and you had your glasses on your nose.
He was looking like a professor over there.
Talking to David about that before the game tonight, and asked him what he remembered about the perfect game, specifically working with Joe Girardi. He says what he remembers is that they hardly even talked during the game. He can't remember shaking off Joe Girardi, and that they were so in sync that Girardi could just read David Cone's eyes. And if Girardi had put down a sign and Cone didn't like it, Cone didn't have to shake his head. Girardi knew what he was thinking, and he would go on to the next sign, so you didn't get caught up in the shaking the head and all that kind of mix-up. That they were just so in sync all the time. But obviously they were really in sync for that game against the Expos.
Well, that's true. I tell you, when you've been around a while and you work with a catcher and they get to know you and they know your mannerisms, and those things can happen for you. And they've also had a lot of praise for how smart he was as a catcher, and they really foresaw him being a manager in the major league at some point.
When he wasn't in the game with the Yankees, which happened more and more as Jorge Posada developed, they said he was always sitting next to Joe Torre and Don Zimmer in the dugout, picking their brains. Two-run home run for Swisher in the 5th gives the Yankees a 6-0 lead.
The new
Plenty of offense, 6 runs, 8 hits for the Yankees, and all kinds of CC Sabathia in the first 4 innings. He has struck out 5. Fastball in the mid to upper 90s. After struggling on Monday at Baltimore, where he didn't go a full 5 innings, just went 4 1/3, gave up 6 runs, 8 hits, didn't have a strikeout for the first time in 4 seasons. He also had a couple of wild pitches in 1 inning. He had never done that before, so maybe feeling a little pressure after signing that huge contract and pitching for the Yankees, pitching on opening day for the Yankees.
Some guys who come from, I remember Butch Weininger, who played for the Twins and went to the Yankees on as a free agent and wasn't used to being booed. And he told me one time I saw him, he says, "There's no pressure like Yankee pressure."
Might be the first. It is. That's the first 3-ball count all night for Sabathia. Doesn't happen until the 5th inning. No walks, 5 strikeouts. Royals have 3 singles and a hit batter in the first 4 innings. They had 2 on, nobody out in the 4th, but Sabathia came back with a strikeout and a double play. A bullet to center field, and Mike Aviles is on base.
I think what you see here, Mike got Sabathia in a 3-1 count, and he got a fastball down out over the plate. And he didn't try to pull it. He just went right with the pitch, right back through the middle, and he had some success. That's the kind of the Aviles that we saw last year when he came up out of AAA.
And the batter is Mike Jacobs, out on a fly ball to left in the 3rd inning. 1 for 11. Was there any doubt in your mind when CC Sabathia became a free agent where he would end up?
None. None at all.
Having a little problem with his control in this inning, falling behind 3-1 on Aviles, and now 2-0 on Jacobs. As check back in with our You Call It, presented by Sprint. The toughest lefty the Royals have faced so far the last 2 nights. Overwhelming. Pettit 36%, Sabathia 60%. Text 432-432, enter keyword Royals along with your selection. I thought John Danks was better than what he had, 8% there.
Yeah,
he was nasty.
He was real nasty.
2% John Danks got. Of course, he's not the name now that he might be in the next few years.
Well, the one thing that they both have in common is that exploding fastball, and they can get in on lefties, and like CeCe got that outstanding curveball along with Pettit yesterday.
Good take by Jacobs. The count goes to 3-1. That guy's checking his email. You can check your email now on your cell phone.
I can do it on mine. It would work even better if someone sent me one.
Well, you got to give out your email address. You're not a texter, though. You told me that.
No, I don't text.
You told me, don't even waste my time sending you a text.
If someone texts me, I'll text back, say, I don't text. Call me. I read text, but I don't
You don't
text
return them?
My granddaughter got on me one day. She says, how come you text one word all the time? Okay.
Damon playing shallow. So Jacobs going the opposite way, and that's what he and Kevin Seitzer were working on quite a bit in spring training. 1 on, 1 out, and now Miguel Olivo.
Well, that's by far one of the best at-bats he's had to date. I mean, he just stayed on top of the ball, hit a line drive. He stays right there. The hits won't be long before they start coming.
Olivo singled sharply to center in the 3rd inning. He was down 0-2. Sabathia also got off to a slow start last year. He had a 0-3 and then a 1-5 start. Miles an hour.
So you can tell the difference in that swing that Olivo took versus the swing that he took to get the base hit up the middle. Right here, this is where he's just trying to do way too much with a fastball at the 95, 96 mile an hour range. You just got to go back to what he did when he got the base hit up the middle, cut down your swing, just try to be quick to the ball and keep it in the center of the field. Now, he swung so hard that time his head went right with his shoulders. You never saw the ball when it went by.
Changing speeds, and you could see Miguel's rear end was going in one direction and the ball was on the outside corner.
It's almost like he was conscious of a ball inside, and you know when you when you get pitched inside pretty hard and you start looking early and the ball goes someplace else, that's what you look like.
Yankees have already turned 2 double plays. They won't get a 3rd here. Been one of those nights fans are cheering because the Yankees didn't turn a double play.
Well, on a play like that, when the third baseman's going hard to his left like that, Robinson Cano has to be able to come to the bag and just try to settle in and just try to get one out. There he just tried to do a little too much.
Ransom was mad at himself immediately because it wasn't a good feed. He's going to be charged with an error. So this might be the break that the Royals are hoping for. Instead of, even if the Yankees got the 1 out, you have a runner at first, 2 down, 2 on, 1 out for Willie Bloomquist.
Well, that's true. You got to always make sure you get an out, and if he takes his time and makes a good throw to get the 1 out at second base. And then you still got a man at first.
Bloomquist out on a pop up to third, first time up. Aviles back in time at second base. Sabathia is 14-10 in his career against the Royals. This is his 32nd game against KC. But I remember very early in his career, he was like 7-0 or 8-0 against the Royals. Royals had done absolutely nothing against him. In a game here at Kauffman Stadium, it looked like it was going to be another Sabathia-dominated game. And A.J. Hinch, remember him?
Catcher, yes.
Hit a 2-out, 3-run home run in like the 5th or 6th inning. And that not only turned that game around, but it really turned the Royals' confidence around against Sabathia for the next several years. So 14-10, he still has a winning record against the Royals, but that's after beginning 7-0 or 8-0.
I know Roger Clemens, when I played, he was that one guy that really had a great record against the Royals, and I don't think we ever figured that one out. It was just lights out against us.
You and a whole bunch of other teams. Center field, Gardner shallow. Aviles runs back to second base to tag. Well, first and third, 2 down. Remember, every Friday and Sunday home game is a Bob Evans loaded 4-pack day. That's 4 tickets, each loaded with $10. You can use it on concessions or merchandise around the ballpark. All that for just $60. That's a $100 value. Every Friday and Sunday game at Kauffman Stadium, a Bob Evans loaded 4-pack day. Coco Crisp has taken 2 called third strikes against CC Sabathia, both times on a fastball.
Yeah, Coco's one of the guys, Ryan, that you think with 2 strikes would just be able to cover the whole plate, but he's been locked up on fastballs the last two plate appearances, one inside, one outside, so he got him kind of in a rocking chair right here, so he's got to figure it out.
And with all those fastballs, he starts him off speed. Maybe Coco anticipating another fastball, guessing another fastball. Coco's game-winning home run on Thursday against the White Sox was a first-pitch fastball from another hard thrower, White Sox closer Bobby Jenks.
I talked to Coco about that swing. He said, hey, he was getting inside on everybody, so I figured I'd try to cheat on the fastball, and he got one that stayed on the plate a little bit more, and it really turned it into the seats.
Aviles at third, Olivo at first, trying to take advantage of a Yankee error. 2-1 on Crisp.
With that hole open at first, between first and second, it'd be nice if you just took a fastball and just sort of hit it, try to hit behind it and drive it to right field and try to go first and third again.
This is the inning of opportunity for the Royals. Down by 6, but they have not had the number of hitting counts like they have had here in the 5th inning.
Basic right here would do a lot for the ball club. It'll do a lot for the offense and also for Tejeda when he goes back out there. I mean, just to get on the board and get things going your way, give you some sense of climbing out of this funk they're in right now.
Jeter at shortstop will go the short way, and that's that. takes over at third base as we head to the 6th inning. And for Alex Gordon. That's one of those red flag moves where it's still early enough in the game with the starter coming out, and Trey Hillman making a point before the game to explain why Mark Teahen was not in the lineup because of the Sabathia-Mark Teahen matchup. Xavier Nady against Robinson Tejeda on in relief of Horacio Ramirez in the 5th inning, and Tejeda coming in, getting a strikeout and a ground out. Nady grounded out in the 2nd, singled in the 4th.
And the one thing about Mark Teahen is he's everything that the Royals said he was going to be coming into the season. You know, second base, right field, now third base.
Well, it was a great discussion among members of the media and the fans. You know, where is Mark Teahen going to play? Should the Royals try and trade Mark Teahen? And it was Dayton Moore and Trey Hillman who worried the least about that, just knowing that things happen over the course of the season. Then second base became an option for him, competing with Alberto Callaspo and Willie Bloomquist. Ended up winning the job at second base. And now with Jose Guillen on the disabled list, well, the Royals feeling really good about still having Mark Teahen on the roster.
I would think so.
Second strikeout for Tejeda. Nothing fancy here.
No, just good old straight fastball, 96 miles an hour, right down the middle. Goes to the harder you swing, the faster the ball gets.
And the hard slider to go with it. One of the first things that Bob McClure worked on with Robinson Tejeda, Frank mentioned it, his stride landing on the front of his foot rather than his heel. And then after that, changing his arm angle a bit instead of coming right over the top. A 3/4 arm angle, not over the top and not sidearm, somewhere in between.
Right, it gives him that 3/4 arm slot that Ponzon has, and it also gives you that movement, that natural movement where the fastball runs back in on the outside corner and into right-handed hitters. And 95, 96 with movement is pretty dang on good.
And then every now and then he'll do that. He'll drop down even lower, which if I were a right-hand batter and a guy's throwing like that, forget it. You got to have some guts to keep your front shoulder in on that.
You got to keep a lot of things in to hit that pitch.
Tejeda throwing smoke, 95 miles an hour. He's faced 4, struck out 3.
Yeah, he wasn't even close to even making contact on this pitch. He had the outside corner master with this fastball, and if he even puts the bat on it, it's going to break the bat, or he's going to just hit a scribbler, but he's not going to do anything with that pitch right there.
Brett Gardner has struck out, rolled into a double play. Yankees getting all 6 of their runs against Horacio Ramirez in 4 1/3 innings.
So the one thing I've been really impressed with is the Royals' arms. I've been really impressed with them, the ability to throw strikes, and also the way they've been able to command their sliders. And the sliders been real nice and tight, and really catching the outer half of the plate and not down the middle of the plate.
Two and one. Well, Trey still has some guys that need to get in some work. So maybe the silver lining tonight And the game's not over, but having to go to the bullpen in the 5th inning. Tonight is the first game that a starter didn't go at least 6 innings, which is a good thing. I mean, every manager would want that, but then there are also some guys in the bullpen that need to get on that mound.
They need to get on the mound, and they need to throw, and that's the only way you're going to keep them sharp is they got to throw at some point. You can do a lot inside work, but unless you're out in here, out in the actual competition, you never know where you are.
And a walk.
Yeah, it looks as if he was really overthrowing right there. He was leaving some fastballs up and out over the plate. He was really getting ahead of himself. And I think he was just really feeling good about those first 2 strikeouts.
A runner at first for Derek Jeter, who bats for the first time tonight, where he's not leading off an inning. Led off the first, grounded out, led off the third, singled and scored, led off the 5th, and grounded out. That gets away from Olivo. Wild pitch, charged to Tejeda. So with Gardner's speed at second base hit for Jeter here is about as close to a guaranteed run as you're going to get.
Stays down there, he's not going to get hurt too much down there on the outside outer half of the plate. When he stays down and get that movement, it's kind of hard to square that ball up. The key has been able to come back and throw back-to-back pitches in the same area.
One and two.
That one there, he got up a little bit, ran it back out over the plate, and Derek Jeter had a better swing at that fastball right there.
You know, I was watching his front shoulder because Jeter's so good at using the middle of the field and going to the opposite field, and Tejeda is that type of guy we just talked about for a right-hand batter to hang in there. I mean, you got to have some guts, and boy, Jeter's front shoulder doesn't even move.
He stays square, I tell you. He'll be the one to hit the ball to right center field.
Another Jeter trademark. He does that very often in between swings. He'll grab the bat with what is his bottom hand, his left hand, and really emphasizes chopping down, hitting down on the ball.
Yeah, I think he wants to swing down through the ball because that's the quickest way to get the bat into the hitting zone. If you dip the bat and try to wrap around, it takes too long. You want to take that bottom hand and you want to pull it down right through, and when you go down through the ball, Ryan, it really creates that backspin on the ball. That's what makes the ball take off and ride deeper into the alleys.
At bat. 96 was the rookie year for Jeter, so this is his 14th year in the big leagues, and he's also one of those guys where the stance really hasn't changed over the years. I mean, he identified very early on what type of hitter he is, and really hasn't changed much from that.
Really, the only thing that's changed with him is he got stronger. His first couple of years, he just couldn't pull the ball at all, and he just matured and got better, and now he can do pretty much what he wants to do. He just thinks real smart with the pitcher.
Gardner down at second base. Tejeda struck out Nady and Ransom to begin the inning. Then Gardner walked, went to second on a wild pitch. Now Jeter and Tejeda duking it out. Well, He's keeping his hands inside the ball. Almost every foul ball is off to the first base side.
Well, he's not trying to pull him. He won't pull him unless he has to. He realizes that Tejeda's probably going to try to get him out of the way, and he's just going to try to stay out there and try to drive the ball.
Jeter has an elbow pad on his left arm. That's one of the hazards of keeping that front shoulder in there, is you're going to get plunked every now and then.
Well, you're right, and this would be a good time to come inside, because you got him leaning out over the plate so far right now, so the inside part is the one that's open. But now the count is 3-2. Now you can't pitch inside because you got to throw a strike, and that's when they're probably going to be waiting for you.
You wonder why he's such a big game player. He is working right now like it's Game 7 of the World Series. His team is ahead 6-0 in the 6th inning, and he is just battling Tejeda. And that is a well-earned walk. It's always an interesting gauge to see how a guy goes about an at-bat when a game at the moment is out of reach.
Well, the thing about Derek Jeter and guys like him, which is not a lot, he's a professional hitter. They don't like to give out. They don't like to give it bats away. And I think a lot of times hitters will look at a score like this and look at the way Tejada's throwing and said, "Hey, look, this guy's all over the place. Let me get away from up here." But he's going to work him, and he's going to get his walk. He's going to get his base hit. And I know that's what makes him a superstar.
Well, this all began, Frank, with a couple of strikeouts.
Well, he was outstanding. You know, with Nate, he came in with a fastball on the outside corner. Then he comes back against Cody Ransom the same way, untouchable. And then he had the walk, probably overthrowing on this batter. And then Derek Jeter just works him. I mean, this is what a good hitter does. And this is what gets pitchers out of games early when you have to have at-bats like this.
And now high to Johnny Damon after a visit from pitching coach Bob McClure. 2 runs scored for Johnny tonight. Single and a walk. It's also grounded out.
Johnny Damon is the same type of hitter. He doesn't give it bats away. I mean, he'll battle you tooth and nail, and you really have to fool him to get him out.
Coming up from center field, and the Yankees strand a couple in the 6th inning. They have a 6-0 lead at the end of 5½. park. The Royals hit a home run in this inning. Allen wins $500, but if the Royals hit a grand slam out of the park, Allen wins $25 grand from Sonic and the Kansas City Royals. 2, 3, 4 hitters coming up, and CC Sabathia recognizing that Alberto Callaspo swung at the first pitch his first 2 times up. This time flips in a curve for a strike. Infield single for Callaspo in the 4th. Swings at that pitch and hits it to Jeter at shortstop. In the first 4 innings, Sabathia had no 3-ball counts. In the 5th inning, he had 3 of them, and the Royals reached with a couple of base runners, but couldn't get the 2-out hit. By the way, that was not Derek Jeter suggesting to CC Sabathia throw a knuckleball. That was Jeter telling Sabathia that Callaspo hit that ball so square that there was no spin at all, and it was almost like a knuckleball, and that didn't sound good at all. Sometimes you get hit with a glancing blow, and sometimes it's a direct hit.
Well, that's one thing the left-handers have been trying to do. The Royals left-handed hitters is crowd him inside, and it looked like David didn't pick that fastball up early enough, because normally a left-hander would turn away from that pitch inside, but he got caught in the middle of trying to swing and realized it was inside and tried to hold up. You can see where he tried to swing, and then all of a sudden the ball just rolled right in on his forearm.
Ooh.
And you can tell by that approach, he probably was thinking this pitch was going to be inside, so I'm going to try to be quicker with it, but the ball was further inside than he anticipated.
So dangerous when you're anywhere on the hands or the wrist, because those are the smallest bones. And then when you're talking about the fingers, there's a chance that a finger gets sandwiched in between the ball and the bat.
Right, it was similar to Alex Gordon when he got hit early in the game on his back arm. He saw the ball, he anticipated the ball inside, and then it's too late to roll away from it.
By the way, Alex is out of the game when the Yankees took the field in the top of the 6th inning. Mark Teahan came on defensively for him, so Teahan on deck behind Billy Butler. Sabathia coming up on 80 pitches, so good shape as far as pitch count. Gave it a good ride, but you could tell it was down around the end of the bat. So Butler is 0 for 3. DeJesus back to first, 2 down.
That was one time Billy was probably hoping to get that fastball on the inner half, but Sabathia went away with him, and he got a little bit too out front and hit the ball at the end of the bat. You can see here he's looking for his pitch in. It was supposed to be in, but it stayed away. His body was already gone, and he was just left to reach with his hands and got the ball at the end of the bat right there.
So Mark Teahan's first at bat tonight, not in the starting lineup. Doesn't have a bad batting average against Sabathia. In fact, a lot of guys would take 265 against him, but Trey was more concerned about the 16 strikeouts in 34 at bats. Sabathia with 5 strikeouts tonight. And Teahan to the opposite field, and Gardner trapped it. DeJesus goes first to third. Well, that's the type of swing we've been waiting for all night against Sabathia. Something out over the plate and driving it to the opposite field.
Well, he threw him a curveball to start with for a strike, and then he came back, and Mark sort of hit this ball out at the end of the bat. See there toward the end of the bat, and just got it in a good spot in the outfield. And Brett Gardner made a great effort coming in to try to make a diving catch on this ball. But that kind of goes back to what we talked about with Willie Bloomquist in right field. You got a 6-0 lead, you know, stay back, take the base hit, try to manage the game.
He's lucky he trapped it.
Yes, it could have went right by him, and you know, Mark Speed, it could have been 2 runs on the board right there.
Or maybe even, yeah, well, you're right, 2 runs on the board, because we saw him circle the bases twice last year on an inside the park home run. Tien last year, the 33rd player in history to have more than one inside the park home run in one season. One of them against Joe Nathan. That was a game-tying 3-run inside the park home run against the Twins, and then had another one against Chicago's Matt Thornton. Just foul.
Yeah, those inside the park home runs are just so much fun to watch. They're great for the fans to watch because the guy gets to second base and the fans get a little bit louder. They get to third base and get a little bit louder. And when they see it's going to be inside the park home run, it's almost like you just hit one out of the ballpark.
Let's see. Frank White had one in 75, another one in 75, 79. Is that it? Just 3?
Just 3.
All right, let's do a little Frank White trivia. The first one in 75 was against?
I don't know. White Sox.
No? Oh, wait.
I hit one.
Yeah, Dave Hamilton. Second one was against?
I'm done there.
The Angels, Frank Tanana. And the Royals strand 2 as Nick Swisher bails out CC Sabathia. The last one was against the Tigers. Stadium looking beautiful tonight with the fountain lit up and the outfield experience. We hope you're enjoying all the pictures in high definition, brought to you by Time Warner Cable. Our next telecast in HD is tomorrow with coverage beginning at 12:30. First pitch at 1:10, Gil Mesh against Jabba Chamberlain. And as pretty as it was yesterday, I think there was the whole wow experience with all of us getting our first look. I think even more so tonight because now the colors are really popping.
Yeah, I really like it. I really like it at night. I think it just looks so much better. And even though yesterday afternoon with the stadium completely full, it was a great video moment, you know, for anyone who want a nice shot of the stadium to put on their wall somewhere. But tonight with all the lights fired up and the billboards, the outfield walls, it's just awesome to look at.
I think that's still the largest high-definition screen in the world until the Dallas Cowboys move into their stadium this fall.
Well, that's true. I think we may have the largest vertical. I know that the Dallas Cowboys is supposed to stretch about 60 yards, isn't it, somewhere? I went out and asked myself, how wide is this board? And it's actually, I tried to go by the FS Kansas City sign and the Bud Light sign and how far apart those are for the batter's eye. And it turned out to be like 80, 85 feet.
Do you think anyone's ever built something in Texas and somebody said, that's too big?
I don't think so. You think ladies' diamonds are bigger in Texas?
So is their hair. Well, we saw the first ever game at Kauffman Stadium yesterday, the first night game tonight. This was the first Kauffman Stadium home run.
Steve Swisher, he really got the head out on that fastball. I'm sorry, Nick Swisher.
Confusing him with his father Steve, who played in the big leagues. He was a catcher, right?
Yes.
Hideki Matsui doubled last time up. He had been 1 for 16 to begin the season. Tejeda has been in there since the 5th in relief of Horacio Ramirez. Retired the first 4 that he faced. Got the last 2 outs of the 5th, the first 2 of the 6th. 3 of the 4 on strikeouts, then ran into some control problems. Walked 2 in a row before getting out of it, and now walks Swisher to lead off the 7th. No swing, says Rob Drake down at third base.
Well, Tejeda's fastball velocity hasn't lessened, and he's still in the 95 to 96 range, and he's really trying to work to keep the ball down and on the inner half to Matsui.
Great pitch, unhittable pitch. 95 on the black. 4 strikeouts.
Well, I'd say he's been down there, and that's that good runner we talked about earlier, that lower 3/4 arm slot to give him more run, and that fastball just ran right away from Matsui, especially after being pounded inside early.
So Swisher at first, 1 out. Jorge Posada 2 out of 3. 2 games in a row in the series. Drove in 2 runs in the first inning. Yesterday it was a 2-run single against Sidney Ponson. Tonight a 2-run double against Ramirez. And then doubling home another run in the 3rd inning. All of his RBIs, 5 in this series, coming with 2 outs.
The 2-out RBI is the hardest one to get in baseball, and to be able to do what he's done to the Royals is really a testament of his professionalism and his experience. They did run into a little trouble with Tejeda his last at bat. A little bit harder fastball. Been able to move it on the inner half, outer half. He's not as predictable as Horacio Ramirez was, and so Posada's having a little bit tougher time with Tejeda right now.
Posada's had such a great career, but he's never really been the headline guy in New York, and it strikes me that maybe that goes along with his personality. Just kind of lay in the weeds. Everyone else gets all the attention, and meanwhile he just puts up 20 home run seasons year after year after year.
And always surrounded by great hitters. That lineup's always full. He was always in sort of the back of the order, 7th and 8th in the 8th spot in the lineup a lot of times. And over the just recent years, he's moved down to where he's been more productive in the bottom, in the top of the order.
He's had as many as 30 home runs and 101 RBIs. All third strike. So for Tejeda, it's either been walk or strikeout. 2 down in the 7th inning. You can get your Royals gear at the official online pro shop. Shop the largest selection online of Royals caps, t-shirts, jerseys, and more. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The Royals.com pro shop. Walks, 5 strikeouts for Tejeda. So far, the Royals have been able to keep Robinson Cano cool at the plate. .571 batting average in the first 4 games. 2 hits, a walk yesterday, but 0 for 3 tonight.
Well, he's definitely been on fire. There's always one guy that's really hurting the Royals, and tonight that's Jorge Posada and Nick Swisher.
Cano being a second baseman, the way he stands at the plate with his hands, does he remind you of anyone else? Those soft hands.
We'd have to go back a long way in my day to Rod Carew.
That's what I was thinking of.
Rod Carew, he was about as loose with his hands as any hitter I've ever seen.
Now Rod Carew, the way, and Cano was like this earlier in his career, where he's kind of laid back with the top of the bat facing straight towards the screen. And Rod Carew, you could walk by him and just gently take the bat out of his hands. It's like he's hardly holding it.
Right, and he was an excellent bunter. He was one of those guys that in his check swing, he could tell where the advantage was, where the infielders were playing, the outfielders were playing, third base, first base, and he could just exploit it any way he wanted to.
Another strikeout. 6 strikeouts in 2 2/3 for Tejeda. Fever with Frank White and the roaming Joel Goldberg. Hey, Joel.
Hey, Ryan and Frank, we're behind home plate, but way behind home plate. To give you an idea, this was not even a part of the stadium last year. You hear about the wider concourse and all the room, and there's a lot of people walking around here. Well, this is all new construction. Over my shoulder, all the offices for the executives, team personnel. The new entrance to get into the stadium, main entrance is right off here to my right. And then as you look over to the left here, the brand new Diamond Club. The doors to the new Diamond Club are the doors to the old stadium. Then you have the Diamond Club. Then you have the seats behind home plate. And out here, people just milling around, checking it out, and just so much room. Everybody having a good time, checking out the new amenities at Kauffman Stadium.
All right, thanks, Joel. Joel not aware of the knucklehead behind him.
How about the guys that get down behind home plate with their cell phones?
Waving.
Call home and look at me.
Mike Jacobs 0 for 2, but appears to be making a conscious effort to try and drive the ball to the opposite field against Sabathia. He's flied to left and lined to left. And now singles to left. Well, all those strikeouts for Jacobs, and among other things, working with Kevin Seitzer. Now, this is something that Kevin wanted to do with all the hitters. When you've got 2 strikes, put the ball in play.
Just put it in play. Don't look for a perfect pitch. Right now, it's the 3rd time he's gone that direction. And last time he hit the ball real solid. And we said if he keeps going that way, he'll find some hits. And there he just found one.
Takes us around the league. Toronto Blue Jays are 5-1 with that win. Rangers started 3-0. They're now 3-2. The only winless team in the American League is Cleveland Indians. They are 0-4, and a lot of people pick them to win the Central Division.
Well, it's never good to get out to an 0-4 start. It seems like it's a long uphill battle to get back.
And those who picked the Cleveland Indians to win the Central Division didn't pick the Indians to run away with the Central Division. I mean, there really is no runaway favorite, and there really is no favorite to finish in last place.
Oh, that's true. It should be an interesting race this year in the Central Division.
Strikeout number 6 for Sabathia is first since the 4th inning.
You know, like we usually say, it's always a good ball down who gets the best pitching.
Well, as we pointed out at the top of the broadcast, and the Royals haven't gotten the bats going yet. It's only the 5th game of the year. But before tonight, you're 2-2 because of the pitching. Royals with the best ERA coming in tonight, the fewest walks, the 2nd most strikeouts. And obviously you want, the team to be firing on all cylinders. But I'll take good pitching, poor hitting over good hitting and poor pitching every day.
Any day. You're right. It's pitching, defense, and hitting. That's what's going to win ball games for you. And that's what win divisions for you.
Wow. That's a broken bat.
That was a ball. That was a ball that had teeth on it. It was Hutton, I tell you. He just got it deep. I don't know if that experiment's working too well with the black dots on the bat.
How about just not allowing maple bats? That solves it.
That would be my guess, or make them use heavier bats. I'll say a lot of times the guys who are used to that light weight of the aluminum bat. They want to try to get that same feel. They want to go with that 33, 34-inch bat, but they still want that 30 to 29 ounce, and that's just not heavy enough.
Damaso Marte warming up in the Yankee bullpen as Sabathia is at 96 pitches. That was the total for him on Monday at Baltimore, but in that game he went just 4 1/3 innings. He's a big man. He's also a very good athlete. Fields his position well and gets Bloomquist. Jacobs to second base, 2 down. Tonight's copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Kansas City Royals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Kansas City Royals Baseball Club. Just got word that Alex Gordon was removed from the game at the end of 5 innings because of tightness in his right hip, so it was not related to him being hit by a pitch in the second inning. Sabathia again fielding well and throwing at 95 miles an hour over to Nick Swisher. The end of 7, still 6-0 New York. Tonight's Royals telecast brought to you by Panera Bread. Discover a whole new breakfast with grilled breakfast sandwiches, a new yogurt parfait, and fresh coffee at Panera. 6-0 Yankees with 2 in the first, 2 in the third, and 2 in the fifth against Royal starter Horacio Ramirez. Robinson Tejeda pitched 2 2/3 innings. And now it's Doug Wechter on the pitch in the top of the 8th. And once again, let's check in with Joel Goldberg.
Well, Ryan, you mentioned those weird people standing behind me before.
Yeah.
Doug Wechter has a nickname of a guy that might be a little bit on the weird or maybe scary side, shall we say. I was asking all the guys during spring training what their nicknames, or at least their favorite nickname of all time was, and Doug Wechter said Hannibal. Hannibal Wechter on the mound right now just needs the mask, and I'm pretty sure the Yankees will be terrified he's going to eat him for lunch.
What in the world? Is there a full moon somewhere? Xavier Nady 1 for 3 with a Fourth inning single. Doug Wechter and Frank White have a lot in common. Both of them had a chance to play for their hometown team. Doug Wechter grew up in St. Petersburg, Florida, and then played for the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. And adding to the magic of that, in his first major league start, he threw a complete game shutout.
Hometown crowd will remember that for a long time.
On a 3-1 pitch, Nady singles to center field. He's 2 for 4. Wechter ended up with some shoulder problems in 2006. He had right shoulder surgery. Started the next year on the DL. Also went on the DL last year with some shoulder problems, but along the way made the transition from major league starter to successful major league reliever pitching for the Florida Marlins. And that attracted the Royals, signing him in the offseason.
Well, I didn't get to see a lot of him in spring training, but Bob McClure liked him, and he said he liked his stuff, and he was just wasn't up to par health-wise. But now he's back, and it looks like Trey's giving all the bullpen guys an opportunity to get in this game and break a sweat.
Wechter was third-round pick of the Rays in '99. How about this draft? Didn't work out the way the Rays wanted to, but in '99 they took Josh Hamilton in the first round, Carl Crawford in the second round, Wechter in the third. Good takeout slide by Nady, and the Royals get just 1 out.
Nady does a great job of preventing this double play. He's got that 3 feet window to the outside or to the inside of the bag. So as long as you can reach the bag with your hand, you can go out as far as you want. And a lot of shortstops going to go to that outside. So he did a great job getting down there to break that double play up. And that's good hustle with a 6-0 lead. I really think the fans like to see that kind of baseball. They like to see guys go into second base hard, break up double plays.
Well, right now the Royals are not in the game, 6-0 in the 8th inning, and still a nice crowd, big crowd here tonight. A lot of them still here on a Saturday night. So why not? If they're still hanging around watching this game, they want to see some guys playing hard.
Well, I mean, that's the minimal that they can expect from guys, is to hustle and try to do the things on the bases that you should do to break up double plays, to keep the inning alive, and then that's what makes him feel like the team is really coming out to play hard.
One and two on Brett Gardner.
That old saying that most coaches, when you first start playing the game, they say hitting and pitching and defense goes into slumps, but hustle never goes into a slump.
Concentration should never go into a slump.
No. That was the one thing that the Royals team did in spring training. They really hustled and really ran the bases hard. And I don't think the fans have really seen the true Royals team that we saw.
Coco making the play in center field, 2 down.
That we saw in spring training. And when they start to put the bat on the ball and get on base, then I think they'll see what everybody else saw in spring training.
Coming up after the game, it's Boulevard Royals Live with Joel Goldberg and Jamie Quirk. Joel has a preview.
That's right, Ryan. After the game, highlights and analysis. Plus, we will update that injury on Alex Gordon, hear from Trey Hillman and his thoughts and updates on that. Plus, Jamie Quirk does join us, and into the Royals clubhouse with Nate Bukaty. A lot coming up, some analysis, and Jamie's going to talk a little bit about the Yankee way. You just saw that hard slide into second base, and the Yankees just still pushing at 6-0. Johnny Damon advancing a runner before being unselfish and going the opposite way. So we're going to talk a lot about that, as well as the night of both pitchers, and might have to get Xavier Nady on the field. That will give us an X and a Q on the post-game show, guys.
0-2 on Derek Jeter. Xavier Nady comes from a long line of Xaviers. One ball, 2 strikes.
This has always been an area for Derek Jeter where he goes to work. Once he gets 2 strikes on him, he really works hard to make the pitcher make a good pitch and get him to swing the bat.
And he strikes out. The Royals had a tough night on offense, but they have 9. Nothing Yankees. 3 2-run innings and 7 shutout innings from CC Sabathia. And speaking of him, let's take another look at You Call It, presented by Sprint. The toughest lefty the Royals have faced so far, 64%, saying Sabathia, 32. Last night's starter Andy Pettit. John Danks only getting 2%. But I'll bet if we ask that same question next year, the year after, and the year after, his percentage will continue to go up.
I definitely agree with that.
Sabathia is at 98 pitches. And the Yankees leaving him out there because he has a chance at pitching a shutout. Last year, Sabathia threw 253 innings, which is an enormous total by today's standards. 20 years ago, that was no big deal if you threw 253 innings, but since they keep such close track on the number of pitches, a lot of times guys are only going about 5-6 innings, but not Sabathia. Last year he averaged 7 1/3 innings per start. That was his average. Gets the first out of the 8th inning, retiring Alberto Callaspo. Callaspo is 1 for 4.
Well, I would definitely qualify that as a quality start. And that really helps the bullpen, keeps the bullpen fresh. And, you know, some guys, they look at him and say, this guy's a horse. You know, this guy really takes the ball and he goes out and runs with it, and he's one of those guys.
DeJesus hit by a pitch last time up. 1 for 2 with a 4th inning single. You know, Sabathia, when he was with the Indians, they would go on and on about what he brought to the clubhouse. Forget about what he did on the mound. Just what a quality human being he is. Very accountable, a natural leader, coachable from the very beginning. Former first-round pick, and not all of them are coachable. A lot of them think they have it all figured out when they get to the big leagues. But you know, another thing about him, he was a big kid when he was a rookie, 20, 21 years old, and his weight has stayed the same. I mean, he has really worked hard to stay in shape and is built more like a NFL offensive lineman than he is a major league pitcher.
Well, the good thing he has is he has very good mechanics. You know, he gets a good hip turn. He stays behind the ball very well, and he's kept his injuries down.
Two and two on to Jesus. Yankees have made a change defensively. It's Melky Cabrera, who was the Yankees starting center fielder in 07 and 08, beat out by Brett Gardner this year. Full count on to Jesus. Still 3-2. Sabathia has been on the disabled list a couple of times. He started the 05 season on the DL with a right oblique injury, and then in 06 the same injury. He had surgery on his knee during one off season, but never on the disabled list because of an arm injury. Right to Jeter. Two down in the bottom of the 8th inning.
You know, David made an out right there, but he really made a nice adjustment by not trying to get out too fast, keeping the ball out over the plate and driving the ball to the shortstop side of the infield. So it looks like maybe they're starting to slowly settle into what they were settling into in spring training. Just say, okay, we're trying too hard, let's relax a little bit more and go back to the way we were in spring training.
Sabathia out after 108 pitches. Jose Veras is in. In his rear view mirror, 7 2/3 shutout innings, 108 pitches, and this early in the season, no reason to stretch him out. So Jose Veras, there are his numbers last year. This is his 3rd appearance this season. So Joe Girardi, maybe different circumstances, same situation, just like Trey Hillman, seeing an opportunity to get some other guys in the game. Ferris comes out of the bullpen throwing just like Sabathia, first one at 95 miles an hour.
Yeah, normally when you face someone like CC Sabathia and he's pitching the way he is and gets out of the ball game, usually has like an uplifting of the hitter. So I'm glad that guy's gone. Let's see what we can do with this next guy.
Tough night for Billy, batting fourth with Jose Guillen on the disabled list. 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts against CC Sabathia. Prior to the game, Billy was a .389 hitter against Sabathia. Now he pokes it to the opposite field and foul. We mentioned this yesterday that one guy doesn't make a team, but Jose Guillen's impact in the lineup is huge because him going on the DL, that affected a lot of other guys in their place in the batting order. Really got to hang in there against this right-hander.
Yeah, really the only 2 guys that stayed the same are really Coco and David down in the top 3, but everybody else is moved around. Casper was a bottom of the order hitter. Now he's at the top. They're batting second. Jacobs moved down, maybe because of lack of not swinging the bat well. But Billy and Alex had to shift down, so it does change it quite a bit.
Two and two. Billy off to a 1 for 16 start. With that fastball.
I was talking to Dave Cohn. He said this is one of the bright spots of the Yankees is their bullpen. He said these guys, they don't give up much. So you got to really, they really make you earn everything you get when you face their bullpen.
Late movement. It started outside and clipped the corner. 3 strikeouts for Butler tonight. 7 strikeouts for Yankee pitchers. The second game at New Kauffman Stadium. Starting to cool down after a sunny game time temperature of 59 degrees. Royals bringing in a couple of Penas. And the top of the ninth inning, Tony Pena Jr. taking over at shortstop. And Brian Pena behind the plate. Doug Wechter still on the mound. Took over in the 8th inning, allowed a single, also had a strikeout. Making his Royals debut. Robinson Tejeda in relief of Horacio Ramirez making his season debut. One and one on Johnny Damon. Johnny has scored 2 of the 6 Yankee runs tonight. Yankees winning 4-1 yesterday with a pair of 2-run innings. And ahead 6-0 tonight with 3 2-run innings. There's the third Pena here tonight, Tony Pena Sr., who has moved from first base coach to bench coach. That really puts him in a tough position. I remember talking to Buddy Bell about this when he was managing the Royals, and Buddy played against a couple of his sons, but many times against David Bell. And gosh, you go into scouting reports and how you're going to pitch to certain hitters and what their weaknesses are, and he's got to sit in there and talk about how he's going to get out a kid that he raised.
That's when you got to work hard to separate business from pleasure. You got to. It's got to be tough, though. I mean, to sit and watch your son fail in a 3-game series or a 4-game series, and you got to go out to dinner with him afterwards. You can't give up any secrets. It's got to be awful tough.
Right center field, wind blowing in from right, so that helps out Willie Bloomquist, who runs it down. And Damon is 1 for 4. Well, in an attempt perhaps to impress his father, I remember a game at Yankee Stadium a couple of years ago, and TJ had a 4 strikeout game. And it doesn't matter if you're a big leaguer or if you're like TJ. I mean, he's been around the big leagues many years before he was a big league player. I mean, it's not a big deal for him to be in Yankee Stadium or whatever stadium, but when you've got dad watching and you got the family in the stands, that'll throw you out of sorts.
And also, you know, your players on your ball club, you know, they're watching too to see what kind of player your son is, because they know what kind of player you were when you played, and they want to see the resemblance somewhere. So there's a lot of pressure on both sides.
One and one to Nick Swisher. He's had a big night. Triple, a home run, 3 runs scored, 3 RBIs.
You know, Brian McRae felt the same way playing for his dad. He said it wasn't easy at all.
Slicing to DeJesus in left field. At least in that situation, you guys are on the same side. Hal and Brian McRae. At least there, you're trying to help your son out and trying to get him out. But then again, if you're not playing well and you got an issue with the manager,
yeah,
do you talk to him at the ballpark or do you talk to him at home?
Oh, the manager has an issue with you.
Right.
I think you have to pick and choose. Occasionally, you're harder on your own son than you would be on anyone else, so you have to prove a point with him a lot of times. So you might just tell him at home, "Hey, nothing personal," but you just got to grow up real fast when you play for me.
Well, you're around when that was going on. Was that a sensitive issue, at least at the beginning?
With Hal and Brian?
Yeah.
Well, I think it was more from Brian's standpoint than from Hal's standpoint. Hal was just a professional. He just wanted to run the game, and he just wanted you to show up, play hard, and that was pretty much how he attacked every day.
And I'm sure it helped Brian, having grown up around the major leagues, knew what to expect. But as hard as you try to be just one of the guys, one of 25, I mean, you're still the manager's kid. I mean,
right. If you have another player on the team who's upset at your dad, and you hear guys and they hear them conversate in the clubhouse, everybody's got to watch what they say around you. That's pretty tough. I think the double whammy was when Cal Ripken and Billy Ripken played for their dad in Baltimore. that had to be pretty tough. Plus, their dad coached there for years also. One comparison, excuse me, Ryan, is that between Tony Pena Sr. and Tony Pena Jr., they both swing alike.
Yes, they sure do. Neither one of them very big. Tony Pena Sr. was not a big catcher, but he had a big swing. Now TJ is taller than his dad. Has a very similar swing where after the swing you wonder if the helmet's going to stay on the head. By the way, TJ, those are not his real initials. TJ stands for Tony Jr. Tony Francisco Pena, and you might remember that Tony has a younger son named Francisco who's playing in professional baseball, but middle initial is not J. TJ just comes from Tony Jr. 2-out walk to Matsui, bringing up Jorge Posada. Thing we can say about TJ is he has handled this great. I mean, did a nice job for the Royals at shortstop in 2007, and obviously lost his job after a bad start at the plate in 08, but really didn't change who he was. And when he was called on to come on defensively, there were a couple times where he made some game-saving plays late in the game.
Well, I know at the start of last season, he made some outstanding plays. They made plays that I don't think a lot of shortstops in the game can make. He had great range in the outfield, whether it be going to center field, down the left field line. He just caught everything.
Jorge Posada has 2 doubles, 2 strikeouts, and he's driven in 3. Well, I'm sure TJ has been around long enough to know that there's 2 ways he can go about it. You know, you can pout, feel sorry for yourself, and your situation's not going to improve. Nobody's just going to hand you a starting job, or you can just go out, keep playing hard, and try and earn back a starting job. Posada pops out to short. Yankees scoreless in the 9th. Last chance for the Royals, down by 6. Well, we didn't get a chance to show you all the Penas that are at the ballpark here. We showed you Tony Pena there, Yankees bench coach. Tony Pena Jr. for the Royals, Brian Pena for the Royals, and now we've officially set a major league record for most Penas in a game. Ramiro Pena takes over at shortstop for Derek Jeter.
Two shortstops, two catchers.
That's right. Royals did not do a straight up switch with their Penas in the top half of the ninth inning. Brian Pena will bat in Avila's spot, and Tony Pena Jr. will hit in Olivo's spot. This is Jose Veras coming out of the Yankees pen to get the final out of the eighth inning, striking out Billy Butler after CC Sabathia went 7 2/3 straight innings, striking out 6. Martin was not in the starting lineup, but came on defensively in the 6th for Alex Gordon, who has a tight hip and came out early. And Tien batted then in the bottom of the 6th and singled against CC Sabathia.
Kind of nice to know that you're not playing in a game and then you find yourself in the game because of injury, and you walk away with at least a one base hit with an opportunity to get 2.
Tien, Brian Pena, and Mike Jacobs coming up here in the bottom of the 9th. Tomorrow afternoon, final game of the series. Gilmesh will start for KC after his 7 great innings on Tuesday against the Chicago White Sox, giving up just 1 run, and hard-throwing Jabba Chamberlain make his season debut. Pitched out of the Yankees bullpen in 07. The bullpen and the rotation last year. Opens 09 back in the rotation. Tien on base again. And now Brian Pena with his first Royals at bat. In fact, when he came on defensively in the top of the 9th, that was his Royals debut. Last year, the Royals picked him up on waivers from the Atlanta Braves, and he spent a day or 2 with the Royals, but never got into a game. Pena from Cuba, defecting to the United States, and then this past off season becoming a United States citizen. Defected back in 2000.
No, Brian told me that waiting to qualify to be a U.S. citizen is kind of like waiting to go into the Hall of Fame. You have to wait 5 years. And then it's like a year of intense study before you get the test.
I think there are over 200 questions he had to answer, or at least study for. Flies out to Johnny Damon, 1 down in the bottom of the 9th. We had some fun with that in one of the spring training broadcasts. Joel and I were in the clubhouse with Brian Pena and asking him some of the things that he had to learn about the United States, and he was giving Joel and I a refresher course, some of the things that we had learned and forgotten, but
civics.
something than over 200 questions that he had to study, but once he went in, he didn't have to answer all 200 of them. But what a great kid. Always has a big smile on his face, and he almost gives you goosebumps when he looks you in the eye and says, I am so proud to be a citizen of the United States.
He truly means it. He means it not only for himself, but it gives his family an opportunity, and some of the things that he had to go through to even get to the United States. That was pretty interesting to hear him talk about those things.
He defected to Venezuela. Mike Jacobs hits a bullet into right center field, and Tien will go first to third. Dave Owen's going to put up the stop sign. There was a little bit of confusion because Dave Owen was waving home Tien, put up the stop sign in plenty of time, but when he was putting the stop sign up, he collided with pitcher Jose Veras, and so Tien didn't see that stop sign right away.
Well, that's the thing you got to be careful of when you're a third base coach. You got a lot of bodies running around, the pitcher's going over the back of third, the umpire's running in to get position. So and then Martin, being a good base runner that he is, he picked up Dave before he got to third base.
I think Dave Owen has the right of way there, doesn't he?
Only if you see what's coming. You got both guys looking back over their shoulder running, so he just got to make sure he avoids them.
Now Tony Pena Jr. That will avoid the shutout. So that gives the fans something to cheer about. Now, it doesn't seem like a big deal. If the Royals lose this game, what's the big deal between 6-0 and 6-1? But you don't want to get shut out.
That's like a no-hitter. You don't want to get shut out. You don't want to get no-hit.
Jacobs still at second base, and now Willie Bloomquist takes ball one. One and one on Willie Bloomquist. Started the game in right field. And he was tested right away as Jorge Posada hit a 2-run double to right in the first inning, and Bloomquist had to deal with a tough sun as he was falling off to the west. That's the third base side at Kauffman Stadium. And Ramiro Pena throws out Bloomquist to end the game. So the Yankees have won the first two games of the series, winning tonight 6-1. The Royals avoiding the shutout, the run in the bottom of the ninth inning. And the Yankees, after an 0-2 start, have won 3 straight, and the